Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Tiger Schulmann Smithtown podcast. I'm Sensei James Leonelli, owner and head instructor of Tiger Schulmann's here in Smithtown. Once again, I'm back in my home recording space, ready to give you guys a little bit more motivation, a little food for thought. And this week, I have an interesting idea for you guys. When coming up with how I wanted to title this episode and the best way that I could think of in order to give you guys an example as to what I wanted and so forth, I found myself thinking about one specific moment that I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh at. As I get there, I'm sure you'll understand a little bit more. But nonetheless, so it comes from season 13 of The Ultimate Fighter. I'm sure you guys are aware how much I enjoy the sport of mixed martial arts, and to that end, obviously, also the show The Ultimate Fighter. It's one of those things that I've seen every single season. I've watched a great many of them more than once in an effort to better my knowledge of martial arts and everything. And honestly, I love seeing all the fighters, the fights, and as well as all the Team Tiger Schulmann's fighters that are on there. But nonetheless, so season 13 of The Ultimate Fighter. Season 13 of The Ultimate Fighter, was coached by Brock Lesnar and Junior Dos Santos. And for those of you guys unfamiliar, 16 fighters come into the competition. They're broken into two teams, and those teams fight off in elimination fights in a bracketed tournament. It's not seeded or anything like that. So random fight assignments based on coaches and fighters picking their fights. So this moment comes from one of the episodes where Brock is sitting there post-fighting. What has happened is one of the fighters on Brock's team that he had determined was a lesser skilled fighter, someone he thought of as, out of the 8 fighters in his team, he thought of him as one of the weakest ones. And that specific fighter was picked to fight against one of the better fighters of Junior Dos Santos' team. And miraculously, some might say, but as time went on to show, more like as it should have happened, the fighter from Brock's team, who Brock thought of as less skilled, winds up winning the fight. And after the fight, Brock's sitting back in his chair in the locker room, looking like the Viking king on his throne, sprawled out, and he just keeps spouting the same sentiment over and over and over again about snatching this victory out of the jaws of a seeming defeat and a terrible situation and this and that and the other. So he just keeps saying over and over and over again, making chicken salad out of chicken, not so nice word, again, making chicken salad out of chicken crap, for lack of a better term. So he was insinuating that, hey, the situation was terrible, bad matchup, way more skilled opponent, blah, 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 blah. And we still found a way to make success out of it. The fighter got a little disappointed at first because he hears his coach referring to him as chicken crap, and he wasn't too happy about that analogy. But nonetheless, the guy was happy to get the fight. And it's funny, every time I think about this particular idea, I think back to this moment and just picture Brock Lesnar in the chair, arms behind his head, making chicken salad out of chicken, right? And he goes on and on and on from there. But really, this is a sentiment we've heard so many times in life. A very simple idea. Life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And again, we could go on and on talking about different ways to describe this phenomenon. But the reality is this. Life is going to constantly mess with your plans. It's going to happen for forever. Right? You're not old. In fact, you're going to get less than ideal circumstances a great percentage of the time. And you're going to be forced to try to make some chicken salad out of those circumstances, to try to make the proverbial lemonade. I'll give you an example. As I record this, it is the Tuesday after Memorial Day. It's June 1st. So this weekend, Mrs. Sensei and I, we went off upstate to a little town no one's ever heard of, right on a river, a small little river that no one had ever heard of. I'm sure people have heard of it. And we had made some really nice outdoorsy plans. It's Memorial Day weekend. We were up in the Appalachians. We brought Slade, my furry co-host, and his sister Onyx, my 2 German shepherds. We brought them with us. And our plan was to go out and do all sorts of outdoorsy things. We wanted to go hiking on the crazy trails that are up there. We wanted to go kayaking if we could. We wanted to get a guided tour of one of the things. There was ski mountains not far. So we wanted to go and hike up some of the trails that are on some of the ski mountains. We wanted to see the sights. We wanted to explore the things that were there. Because there was a lot of history in the area that we were in. And of course, a lot of the history was outside. Well, we made the plans, we made the reservations, we did what we needed to do to get up there. We drove up there, and Mother Nature had other ideas. It was Memorial Day weekend, and the place we were staying had a wood-burning stove in it, and there's a fire in that wood-burning stove every day just to keep the place warm. It was in the 40s at certain points, both morning and night, like daytime and nighttime. And it was raining almost constantly. So here we have all these plans about what we want to do, indoor and mostly outdoor. All these sites that we want to see, all these trails that we want to hike, all these things that were really important to us. And plus, we got these big dogs, and we want to take them, and we want to get their exercise in and so forth. And unfortunately, it rained a very big percentage of the time. So we could have wallowed, and we could have been grumpy, and we could have, been upset and left early or whatever. And this place stinks, and this and that, the other. And instead, we found a way to make it as great as possible. I mean, we watched the radar, so we knew when we could sneak out for a little while, when we go to this park that was near the place, or when we would take the dogs for a walk around the neighborhood, or go out and see this, or found some indoor stuff that we could do, visit this old little restaurant that was a converted train depot. It was awesome. We find all this stuff because we didn't sit around and accept the chicken crap, as it were, and just let it be chicken crap. Instead, we found the way to make the chicken salad. We found a way to make things what we wanted them to be. We wanted to have fun. We wanted to get the dogs up and around. Monday morning it cleared up a bit. It wasn't raining, but it was still foggy as you could imagine, to the point where we were hiking up the ski mountain. If you guys have ever been to a ski mountain, there's the lifts, and there's the big posts that hold the lifts up, the giant like pillars. When you were hiking up, if you were at one pillar, you could just barely see the other. So it was at that point in the weather, and we still, again, all these circumstances, not exactly the most fun in muddy conditions because it had been raining with this crazy fog, not the most ideal, and the dogs were a little stir crazy because they'd been in the house a lot more than we wanted them to be, so they weren't the most well behaved, understatement of the century, and we still found a way to make it an enjoyable day. We saw these awesome sights, we went to these awesome places, and it was really enjoyable. And it's the kind of trip that we'll remember for a really long time. And obviously this is just one example, but there's so many ways that you're able to find the way to make that proverbial chicken salad. I mean, again, circumstances being what they are at this point, a lot of restrictions for COVID have been lifted around here recently. And you see restaurants are opening back up and so forth. And what never ceases to amaze me is the way restaurateurs took this very difficult time that they were dealt with. No indoor dining. Okay, so outdoor dining. Okay, outdoor dining, but maybe. But yes, and then no, and then yes again. And now the weather's cold. Now it's rainy. You only can fit 3 tables in front of your business. What are you going to do? And they found all these ways to improvise, adapt, and overcome. They didn't just say, woe is me. It's funny. I look around my town here, and only, in terms of restaurants, only one place went out. And honestly, that place had been going out for a long time. It just wasn't very popular. It was a nice enough place, but there was a much bigger and better place that did the same type of food right around the corner. So they never really blew up the way they wanted to. To that end, I think that's a great metaphor for life. We make all these plans in our life. We have all these things that we hope for, in order to make the ideal scenario from them. I'm planning this day, I'm planning this occasion, I'm planning anything. But life is what happens when you're busy making other plans, right? And sometimes the best things that come from overcoming the crap that life throws your way. All those lemons come flying at you. Often you make the sweetest lemonade. I mean, even some of the greatest trips that we've ever taken have been things where, again, everything was planned out a certain way and then everything went wrong. Our favorite vacation together, we talk about all the time. We refer to it as the Murphy's Law trip because everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Everything. And yet still, it was one of our most fun vacations ever. And obviously, I'm kind of sticking to the idea of vacation because that's fresh in my head. But honestly, life is very much this way. Sometimes we just got to roll with the punches. We talked last week about being adaptable. And being adaptable is good. But there's a whole different skill set to thriving in the face of difficult circumstances. Not just going with those difficult circumstances and making the best of them, but finding a way to take that frown and turn it upside down. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever had this, if you guys are involved in the customer part of whatever it is you do for a living, but it's amazing how often the customer that seems to be your biggest pain in the butt at first, like the one who asks the most questions, who rocks the boat the most, who seems to be the biggest pain, they often wind up being your best customer. For a simple reason, that person cares, and they care a lot. Well, why? Because it was not an ideal scenario to get berated by all these questions and have them question you every step of the way and have them wheel and deal and this and that and the other. But usually something really great comes of it, right? If you make it happen. But again, this is a mindset. And that's the thing we have to remember about a lot of the things I talk about. Right? Having our mind tuned a certain way is really, really, really important. Because the exact same circumstance can happen to 2 different people, and the 2 of them are going to go through that process entirely differently. Right? One person will find the chicken salad. The other one will just wallow in the crap, so to speak. So the question I have for you guys is this. Right? What scenarios have you been dealt with recently that you're looking back on right now and you're thinking to yourself, I wish I had found a way. I wish I hadn't beaten myself up about this, that, or the other. So now, what am I going to do differently next time I'm faced with circumstances like that? Because you ever notice how when you wake up in a bad mood, you stay in that bad mood, right? Everything seems to happen to you to make that mood worse. But on the other hand, if you wake up in a really good mood, you stay in that really good mood, and it's really hard to knock you off course. Why? That's just the lens that your mind is set to. Well, this same idea here of making a positive out of a negative, that's a mindset as well. That's a lens through which you look at the world. And I've referenced this idea before in this specific video before, and I reference it all the time because, to me, it's one of like the most powerful things I've ever watched. And if you guys are a listener to the Joe Rogan podcast, you've heard this video spoken about before. But podcaster, martial artist, Navy SEAL, and just author, all about awesome character, Jocko Willink, has this spectacular video out. And it's a clip from his podcast. And he was talking about what he would say whenever people would bring to him their negative circumstances, their chicken crap, as it were. And he, no matter what it was that they would say, he would reply, "Good." And it became almost a joke in the teams. Oh, the mission got canceled? Good. More time to train. Oh, that training apparatus is broken? Good. We can spend more time on the other one. Oh, this circumstance? Good. This other way of looking at it. And to me, it's such a great motivational video. So you search Jocko Willink. Jocko is Jocko. You put in just that if you don't want to brave his last name, which isn't very difficult. Willink, Willink. You put in those words and just the word "good" in YouTube, and in 2 minutes and 30 some odd seconds, you will be more motivated than you have been in your entire life. It's just a super uplifting video, and it epitomizes this very idea that you can take whatever negative life gives you and you can find the way to turn it to positive. Man, snowy day, stuck in the house. I know it's June. Hard to think about this idea, but first one that came to my head. June, snowy day, can't get outside. Good. Get your workout in. Go, shoveling the snow within the house. Oh, power went out. Good. Spend more time with your family and your loved ones. And no matter what the circumstance you describe as, ask yourself, where can you find the good? Where can you make the salad? Because it's always there, no matter what the negative is. Don't get me wrong. Not like we want to not feel every negative so we can learn from those feelings and emotions, but circumstances are going to break sometimes. You're going to have this great summer weekend planned and it's going to rain. It's going to happen. So what are you going to do? Sit around and be grumpy about it? What would that solve? Nothing. People say this to me all the time. And you ask someone, how are they doing? And they say, can't complain. And I'll respond, sure you could, but who would want to listen and what would it solve? Isn't that the truth? We just sit around with all those lemons. We're just going to sit around and be grumpy and it's going to solve nothing. Instead, if we find the way to take those lemons, create some lemonade, we get some real positive out of that scenario. That positive is what I challenge you to find. Right? Legos go together a whole bunch of different ways. Right? There's many different configurations for a pile of Legos. Right? You can either throw them on the floor and make them the thing that you step on and squeal out in the middle of the night, or you can build them into something cool and then impressive. So I ask you, which choice are you going to make? I don't know about you, but I'd prefer the positive. I'd prefer to find the salad. So, next time you're faced with circumstances that don't go out according to plan, that when your plans seem to be messed with by the universe, don't fret. Just put on your chef's hat and find a way to make the salad. Find the way to make that chicken salad. Right? That's all I have for you guys this week. As always, you can reach me via email, senseileonelli@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook. I'm Sensei James Leonelli. Find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Sensei_Leonelli. You can find my school. We are at tsksmithtown.com. You can find us on Facebook. We're at facebook.com/Tiger Schulmann Smithtown. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at TSMMA_Smithtown. You can find the podcast on Instagram at TS Smithtown Podcast. You can find out more about the Tiger Schulmann's organization as a whole at tsk.com. And until next time, my friends, I'll see you guys on the mat.